AFC North Talk. Welcome into Bengals Corner. I am Ace Boogie. Bengals cut Zach Carter or waived, whatever term you want to use there. Bengals got Zach Carter off the roster. Zach Carter, as we know, has just never lived up to the third round pick that he was. He was supposed to be a guy that came in and replaced what the Bengals were getting from Larry Ogunjobi. Never really lived up to it. Never really became the pass rusher that he was supposed to be. Was not a good run defender. So the Bengals waived him. And what that says to me is this Bengals defensive line is getting healthy at the right time. Obviously, we know since this preseason and training camp, defensive tackle has really just been an issue for them. You talk about Chris Jenkins initially going down, having a hand injury. Now he's in the cast. He just came back about 2 weeks ago. You talk about the fact that McKinnley Jackson went down in training camp, a nose tackle that the Bengals are depending on, and really was the only nose tackle at that moment on the roster, went down. They didn't even get to see him in preseason, so you still don't know what McKinnley Jackson is, but they have been playing this season without a nose tackle. Then you talk about BJ Hill. He went down. He's the best defensive tackle in that room. Sheldon Rankin still isn't back yet, but we're getting all of these guys back. And I expect that with them waiving Zach Carter, Chris Jenkins, 3 tech position or 5 tech position has to be his, especially you talk about BJ Hill coming back, right? So I imagine that those two are going to be in there. I imagine that we'll see some McKinnley Jackson in there. Really was a fan of his coming out of college. Really liked him, picked him as one of the sleepers this year. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do, especially in this Ravens game. They are getting these reinforcements when they need it. And then let's also talk about the edge. Myles Murphy was a guy that really hurt them because he hasn't been able to be out there from the start of the season. We're now going into week 5 or week 4? Or week 5 now. We needed Myles Murphy. There's literally been no pass rush outside of Trey Hendrickson from this team. So I think that them getting these guys back is extremely crucial. And I think the fact that if you can get just a little bit out of Myles Murphy, because they have not been getting anything out of Sam Hubbard. We know that he's not an edge rusher. We know that his biggest thing is setting the edge and trying to contain the run, and he hasn't been good at that. He's also allegedly been hurt. I don't know. We haven't seen him on the practice report, but apparently he has some kind of hamstring thing that he's battling with. He's had to move. It's been so bad. They've had to put Sam Hubbard at 3 at some points or line him up at 3 tech. It's been bad, but them getting Myles Murphy back, I think if Myles Murphy does the things that he was able to do and shows the flashes and is able to have the athleticism to get out in space against a Lamar Jackson or against these teams in general, then you'll start to see this Bengals D-line improve. Bengals defensive line has just been the weak point of this team thus far. It's really just been Trey Hendrickson, and that's it. Trey Hendricksonettes. That's what it's been. Like, it hasn't been really great for them out there. And I think now that they're able to get some of these guys back on defense, we'll see how that helps them. Now, when it comes to the run game, I think McKinnley Jackson is good to have against the run. We'll see what BJ Hill is able to do. Sheldon Rankins is still going to be out. So from what we've seen thus far, I think this Bengals defensive line is going to be better. I also think Myles Murphy is going to be good at setting the edge and defending the run more than people think. A lot of people forget Myles Murphy is actually more of a better run defender than he is a pass rusher. However, his athleticism allows him to do things with that crazy first step that allows him to get into the backfield. So it'd be interesting to see how they're utilized, how much of these guys play this weekend against the Ravens. But the Bengals defensive line is back. I think that they are getting healthy at the right time. They have obviously been getting shredded out there because of it. So it's affected the linebackers. It's affected the secondary. We'll see. I'm not trusting it right now. Like, I got to see it, bro. I'm going to be honest with you. I got to see it. I do think Zach Carter was that bad. I do think the guys that they've had out there, now you also mix in Tufele, like they kept certain guys over keeping Zach Carter. So that tells you all that you need to know there. But surprisingly, this defensive tackle group going into the season was a deep group. They just got mauled by injuries. And so there's no way to really analyze who is who because you didn't really get to see who is who. We're literally basing the Jenkins stuff off of some of the plays we've seen in preseason and really like the last couple of games. And now it seems like they're going to ramp it up. So we really haven't been able to see him. We haven't been able to see McKinnley Jackson. We haven't been able to see whether Myles Murphy has ascended to another level. So it'll be interesting to see it this weekend, but it is good that the Bengals are getting these guys back. I expect them to get even more guys back later. Now, the one thing I will say that was kind of stupid is they let KJ Henry get snatched up off of the practice squad, which when you're struggling at edge rusher, you kind of want to keep some of those edge rushers on your team. So it'd be interesting to see what they do there in terms of that. They do have another edge rusher that they can utilize. His name escapes me right now, but the Bengals ended up drafting him this season and about the end of the draft. Let me look it up real quick, but I can't believe his name is escaping me because we've been talking about him a lot lately. But Cedric Johnson. Ced Johnson is a guy that definitely has flashed as well. And then you talk about them adding in a guy like Lawrence Guy, who's been pretty good. Bengals picked him up about 2 weeks ago. So those are some of the reasons that the Bengals were able to move on from a Zach Carter. Those are some of the reasons why I expected the Bengals defensive line to get better. It's not going to be a top tier line, but I do think that they'll be able to make some strides. So make sure you guys hit that like button. And thank you guys for watching AFC North Talk.